right, and welcome back for another episode of the CBSI Hot 10 show. Make sure you go over to comicbookinvest.com and check out the article where I may put a few extra tidbits and details that I don't cover here on the show tonight. And while you're at it, check out all the content we do have here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit that alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing this small little channel. And if you want to see this week's list, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back.
Notable sales.
And our first notable sale of the week is this classic from back in the day, this steampunk variant from DC, Wonder Woman number 28. I've always been searching for one of these, have yet to find one, or at least find one that I can feel comfortable in paying the price for, because this thing is quite expensive, and one did sell for a pretty big number this past week. Now, this is Wonder Woman number 28, as I mentioned, from 2014. It is a 1 in 25 incentive ratio, and this thing sold this week in a CGC 9.8 for $2,300 on a best offer for a listing that I think had it at like $3,600. So that was a healthy discount from the asking price. So just keep that in mind as well. But it is still pretty close to that all-time sale price that I found of $2,678 from just this past September in 2025. That seems to be, at least according to GPA, the highest sale that I could find for this particular book in a 9.8. So $2,300 this week ain't that far off from that $2,678. So with that in mind, that is the first notable that I have for this week. And then I do have another, which is an all-time high sale for this week. And this is another classic cover, not an incentive, mind you, and not even a variant. Well, depending on how you look at it, this is Amazing Spider-Man number 607, and this is the newsstand edition. So I guess you call it a variant if you like. I don't like calling it exactly a variant. I just call it a newsstand edition. It's just a different version to me. It's not like a B cover. It's not the same in my mind, but that's just how I, think about things. But this is still not the easiest thing to track down, this newsstand edition with the $3.99 cover price in a 9.8. There are not that many of this particular cover for a newsstand version, and one of these 9.8s did sell for an all-time high this week of about $2,800. That's right, $2,800 for this particular cover. J. Scott, Campbell Classic, Black Hat, ASM 607. The last sale for this book in this grade for a newsstand edition was still $2,000, but that was back in December of 2024. So that was nearly, over 2 years ago at this point. So does not come up that often, especially in this grade. So kudos to both the buyer and the purchaser, because there aren't a lot of these to go around. And there it is for $2,800, ASM 607 in a newsstand edition. Now, we still have the Hot 10 to get to, but before we get to the Hot 10, I want to remind any of you out there who need supplies, you can save 10% off by using my code RENA10 over at BCW to get your bags, your boards, your long boxes, and short boxes. Basically, anything to keep your comics or collectibles safe as far as supplies go, you can go find something over at BCW and save 10% off your entire order by using my code RENA10. That's 10% off your order. You help out the channel. You get yourself a discount. So you really got nothing to lose by using it if you're buying those supplies anyway. So with that out of the way, let's get right into the list and see what we got this week, because this is going to be an interesting one.
Number 10.
All right, we're probably getting used to seeing these by now. Every new issue of Exquisite Corpses comes out, and every new thank you edition, foil edition, seems to make the bottom of the list. And we have it once again with issue 10 here at number 10 with that secret, I don't think it's a secret anymore, one per account foil edition, thank you edition of Exquisite Corpses. So same cover as the cover A with the Michael Walsh, but with that foil trade dress at the top instead as part of for the thank you edition. Now, we've had about 20 sales, so almost about 20 sales so far. Again, this is going from Wednesday to only Friday, so just a couple of days on the market. It's already averaging $44, which is above where we've seen some of the others. Some of the lower end ones were more like 25, 30. Some has gone as high as like 60 to 80. This is, kind of in the middle. So at 44, not too bad for it, with highs hitting that $75 mark. So keep that in mind as well. But that is our first book on the list and our number 10. So let's not waste any time and keep it rolling, because we got some new stuff to get to this week.
Number 9.
Speaking of new stuff, new release this week, the 5th and final issue of Death to Pachuco. This is the Gonzo cover, technically the B cover. I think there's 3 covers total on this particular final issue of the series, but most collectors are gravitating towards this awesome, Mexican Day of the Dead style edition of the cover. I dig it. I love the colors, the purples, the greens. It just reads really nicely, but this particular cover is standing out from the pack this week, but still finds itself here down at number 9 because you'll see why. A lot of new issues and a lot of new releases are on the list this week, so we got a lot of new stuff to get to. But this particular one is here at number 9 because it had a little over a couple dozen sold with 25 plus sales, averaging $19, which for context is 375% above the cover price of $3.99. So that's why I'm putting that number there to just give you also that sense of the percentage increase we're seeing after only 2 days on the market. And the market is seeing crazy increases for these new releases the past few weeks. And I just want to quantify it by giving you those numbers. And you can see that the high of 25 is a 525% increase on that $3.99 cover, just like that. No other market really sees increases like that. You're not going to go to the stock market and see jumps like this that often, but just putting things into perspective for everybody out there. So number 5, Jake Gonzo cover for this issue, doing quite well out of the gate if you can find it. Now, with that, let's keep it rolling and see what we got next.
Number 8.
One of my favorite new books this week. Yeah, I've talked about it. This is the Mega Man number 1, the 1 in 5 edition. It's just such a fun little, homage to the Mega Man X, the Super NES cover box. It's just an awesome idea, and I dig it. I like it. And like I said, I mentioned on the Wednesday watch list, this was one of my favorites this week. It actually was my favorite variant of the week. But this Jeffrey Cruz cover is only a 1 in 5, so very easy to qualify ratio edition. Plenty of shops can go for it. Here, I'll turn it outside so you can get a better look at what it looks like as a Super NES box. If you all remember the Super Nintendo as fondly as I do, this box will bring back memories. So with that, how many sales are we talking about here? We're talking about 30, a little over 30 sales already on this 1 in 5, averaging $22, which decent amount for a 1 in 5 incentive ratio, with highs hitting as much as $50 already on this book. We saw a similar kind of jump for that Mega Man Timelines X, was it that one shot with the Transformer movie homage poster like a month or so ago. So this is kind of following suit, and there will be more of these homages coming forward through this series on the 1 in 5. So keep that in mind as you go to your shops and adjust your pull orders if you want to get these 1 in 5 incentives to see if you got a good relationship with your owner, if you can secure one of those early, because issue 2 has one as well as issue 3, I believe, as far as announcements already gone. So we'll see how those do on the market, but this one already out of the gate pretty strong at number 8. And with that, let's keep the list rolling and get to our lucky number
7.
Moving up the list from last week, we have that Night Fight edition, issue 3 of 4, with that little quick kind of cameo of little Alfie Wayne that people seem to keep going and picking up. I mentioned this last week that some books were selling for interesting highs of $18 at the time. Meanwhile, as time has gone on and we had another week under our belts, we've seen both the volume, average, and high price all rise over the last 7 days. So with another 60 plus sold this week, which is a 20% jump from last week's volume, averaging $15, where last week we saw plenty of cover price sales. I didn't even bother giving you an average sale price, but now the average is $15, where last week's high was only $18. This week's high is $25, which is a 39% increase from that $18 mark from last week. Meanwhile, sets are now about $30 to $50 for issues 1 through 4 if you're looking for those as well. Again, this is the Dan Mora cover A. This one seems to be standing out from the rest, so it is. These numbers are really focused in on this particular cover and not the other options that you can get for that issue 3. So keep that in mind as well, as collectors have focused in on this Dan Mora as the cover of choice for this book. Now, with that, let's keep it rolling and see the last book in our bottom half of the Hot 10 at number 6.
Number 6.
It's a little bit of a slow reaction to last week's trailer for Spider-Man Noir, but it seems to be picking up steam as we're getting a color and a black and white version of the show apparently available, coming to us on Amazon Prime soon. So Spider-Man Noir number 1 is a pricey book, and we've seen a decent jump in volume this past week to match those, even with those high prices. So What are we talking about here? This is the Patrick Zercher cover, the cover of choice of collectors, which we'll get into a little bit more in a few seconds. But 30 plus sales across all covers, or both covers, I should say, for this book, and some graded, some non-graded. It's hard to differentiate and pull everything out to give you too many metrics, but by and large, many of these are graded because it already is a pricey book. So the overall average sale price for this cover is about $436. So that's overall. That's including 9.8s, ungraded, lower graded, etc. 436 is the overall average, with the raw high being a $550 newsstand edition. So keep that in mind as well, that there's a newsstand out there that does get a decent premium with that. Outside of that, the CGC 9.8 high sales, and I say sales because there were two at this price point, of $625. So that's what a 9.8 would do. Newsstand 550 raw. Sets of issues 1 through 4, about $350 to $450, to put it into further context. I mentioned this is the cover of choice because there is a variant cover, the B cover on this, that nobody seems to like, and you can find for at least half off of the prices of the other cover. So CGC 9.8 of this is only $280. $625 down to $280 for the same book, just a different cover. And this is the variant edition, of which one would imagine there may be less. But the other one is the cover of choice. Raws of this particular cover are about $75 to $110. While the cover A, I did give you the newsstand high of $550, but outside of that, there's a lot of $200, $250s. I think there might have even been a $300 sale, if I'm not mistaken. But point being, this cover is much cheaper, a much cheaper option if you're out there shopping for Spider-Man Noir. But this is what the market is doing. I'm just reporting the numbers. I'm not saying which one is better or which one you should own. I'm just saying this one is cheaper if you were looking. So with that, that is the bottom half of our list, and we have the top half list of the list next. Sorry, getting a little tongue-tied. And let's just get right to it, to our next book.
Number 5.
All right. Had to break these up. So for this week, White Sky, number 1, took the market by storm. Let's just say what it is. I mean, we're going to get there. We still have more of the list to come. We're going to get there. But new releases these days are going nuts. You saw it the past 2 weeks with Dork. So following suit, White Sky is following in those footsteps. And the 1 in 25 for White Sky, which just came out this Wednesday, is already doing quite well. This is a nice little cover by Luana Vecchio. The story inside is also solid. I read it. This is a pretty good book. I don't know if it's groundbreaking material. I mean, it's a little bit supernatural. It's a little bit Last of Us, as most people kind of explain it when they're saying, what's the book about? It's taking that end of the world sort of angle with those properties in mind, but dealing with ghosts. That's kind of the subject matter here. Where we go from here, we'll find out. But this has only been one issue so far, so we don't have much of the story yet. It's all just set up, basically. But the 1 in 25 is standing out because it's already has about a dozen sales, averaging $151 out of the gate for this 1 in 25. 151 already, with highs. I think the high was today of $250. There are a bunch of these listed, but as more come to market, we'll see if more of these sell. But as of now, we've already had a dozen, and the prices are already quite high, as you can see here, averaging 150, high at 250, which is why it's here at number 5. But we still have plenty more to get to, so let's not keep you waiting, and let's keep the list rolling and get to our next book here.
Number 4.
I mentioned the darling book of the last 2 weeks, and that is Dork. And just do not dismay. This is still selling very, very well if you are a Dork fan. I also read this finally, once I finally got my copy in hand. Fun read. Again, fun read, entertaining. I don't know if it's anything we haven't kind of seen before, but I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to issue number 2. But with that, let's see how well these prices are doing, as we still have a couple weeks before issue 2 shows up. This falls from the number 1 spot here to number 4. Brett Bean doing the cover throughout, and it still had a decent volume with another few hundred sold. I stopped counting after a couple hundred because it just didn't. I got the point. You get the point. Another few hundred sales. Average is now $82 strong, up 49% from last week's high, or last week's average. I'm sorry. High of $130 raw for cover A. It's a 23% increase from last week. So Still solid volumes, prices still kind of ticking up as far as the past week goes. Where we go from here, I'm not sure if we've hit the ceiling yet or not. I kind of feel like we might have to at some point. This is only a couple of weeks old, but who knows? The market has been wild of late, so maybe we haven't even touched or scratched the ceiling yet. I don't know. We'll see in the week ahead. But that is cover A. Meanwhile, cover B and C lagging a little bit behind, but still doing very, very well. With cover B up 59% with its average also at about 51 bucks. But you can see that's well under the 80, 82 of cover A, with the high here of only 69, which is a 15% increase from last week's high for cover B, the Corona cover. Then we also have the cover C option here as well, which, mind you, also seen decent increases, but a higher high water mark, which was kind of interesting than the B cover, as averages is under at $45, but up 55% where it was before. High hitting 81, again, well above that 69 high for the B, which is a 93% increase on the high of this particular cover last week. Just giving you context, giving you numbers, giving you a sense of how this book is doing, because it is still doing very, very well as prices are up, as I said, across the board. But what you won't see on the list is the 1 in 25, because the volumes just kind of slowed down a bit because, again, those prices are in the 300s. With that said, as well as the same thing goes for the ash can. So not to ruin the top half of the list, but those two will not be found here, as we have other books to talk about going forward in our top three. And I'm sure you're curious what they are. So let's not waste any time, and let me share with you what we have in the top three, starting off first with
Number 3.
While it's not a version of Dork issue 1, this is a familiar book, as Bleeding Hearts #1 from Vertigo has moved down the list, but still near the top. It slipped a spot here to number 2, with this Nick Dragotta cover being still the cover of choice, but it is not alone, as Bleeding Hearts is still doing well with this second issue return to Vertigo. Not second issue of the series, but the second issue under, I think, of the new Vertigo imprint. Well, the new version of it. It's brought back. Anyway, how is this cover doing? Well, we had another 100 plus sales. Again, I stopped counting after a while, but volumes remain pretty consistent as to where they were last week, but averages and highs going up for this one, with the average now at about $16, 45% jump from last week, highs hitting $20, up only 11 from the high of last week, but still up for this cover. Why is that? Because, well, the cover C is not standing out as much as it has, as the D cover, I think it is kind of following suit. This is the Chris Bacalo cover. I counted 40 plus sales of this particular cover this past week, and this one's averaging about 12 bucks, with some hitting like 18 and kind of surpassing some of the sales for the cover C. So this cover is also kind of climbing up the board along with the other options. There is a J. Lee, there is a cover A, there is a foil edition of the cover A as well. But other ones hitting like 13, little here or there, a little plus, a little lower, but there are still plenty of cheaper and near cover price options for these other covers, which is why I kind of put them down below here at the bottom, while the Dragotta and then the Bacalo seem to be distancing themselves a little bit from the rest of the other options. So with that, that is our number 3 book, which leaves us with two books and 2 new books to talk about. So let's not waste any time and let's see what they are.
Number 2.
I did not secure a copy of this because it is a Mad Cave book, so not as many shops order as many of these as might be needed, because this thing has had a wild ride already. In the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre. Yeah, it sounds as crazy as it seems, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun. It's probably a fun read, as I kind of speculated when I said it's probably like that Bigfoot book in the sense of just the wild story here. But with that said, this wild story and this book has 2 cover options, and both are selling very, very well. Together, just put them together, over 115 sales for this book. It is a new release, mind you, so volumes are generally on the high side, but averages is already $19 across all of those sales. That's the overall average. So even factoring in the handful of cover price sales or the bunch of cover price sales that were there first, it's already up to a $19 average, which is a 280% increase over the cover price. I think this is a $3.99 book, with highs already hitting $60. 60 bucks, as this has been on the shelves 2 days. And those prices were hitting there Day one, on Wednesday, there were $30, $40 sales right out of the gate for this book, and that $60 high is an 1,100% increase on the cover price. So if you were able to go and buy this for cover, you had an 1,100% return, basically, if you were to leave the one who sold it for $60. Just pointing that out. Mind you, this is the cover A. There is a pretty cool cover B. Here's the cover B option. This one isn't hitting the same highs as this one has about a high of 50. So just a little under that $60 mark. But the sets of the pair together are 90 to 115. So a little bit of a premium, a little bit of a discount, depending on how you were able to score it. 90 to 115 on this set of the A and the B. So whatever you can get a hold of. I kind of like the B personally, though the cover A is kind of cool with that sort of manic poster kind of style. Maybe I get lucky and find one, but we'll see how it goes. Not going to kill myself if I don't. You know, things have gone past me before. Try not to get FOMO and try not to fall into the trap of overspending something. But I'm not here to judge. I'm here to report. And to report the numbers, we have another book here that has also seen a wild ride to the top. And this is our top book of the week.
And our number one.
Following suit, as I said, to that dork book, but in an extremely accelerated pace, we have White Sky, number one. This is, as I mentioned, with the 1 in 25. It's sort of a supernatural meets a Last of Us sort of storyline. I mean, it also has original take on its own. Well, again, we'll see where it goes from here. I'm just giving you the premise. That's just kind of how you sell something with a tagline. We'll see how the book goes from here. But this is the cover A for number one, and this book doing very, very well. Again, I counted 500 or so sales before I stopped counting. Again, I do this manually. I do manual tracking, spreadsheets, etc., to get these numbers because you can't just trust everything in front of you. But 500 plus sales is what I had before I gave up. But it gave me enough of a sense of what this book is doing with an average of $36, which is an 800% increase on that $3.99 cover price. High of 78 already. 1,850% increase on that $3.99 cover price. And those prices were being hit basically day one. I mean, this was hitting 40, 50 Wednesday. So before people were even hitting their shops, these things were already flying off shelves in most places, sold out at a lot of shops, or maybe even some stores holding some back because of the crazy pricing online. That I don't know. All I can tell you is what the market has done with this book in just the matter of 2 days. This is the cover A. There is a cover B as well that I do really like the art here. But this one, the cover B, high only hit 50, little down from the 78, but sets of the pair, $100. And then there was also a blank, which also secured a $50 sale as a high for a blank. Crazy, right? But with that, you know there's a 1 in 25. I had that one earlier on the list. Those are your options for White Sky number one, and we will see where this series goes from here. But so far, it's hot right out of the gate, to say the least. So with that, that is our list, and that was our top book of the day. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, but I'm not done. I'm not done. As you know, I've kind of gotten to a rhythm of doing some books for you to keep an eye on that I'll do at the end. If you want to stick around for that, you can. But before we get to those keep an eye on it books, I also want to share with you that I do have another thing that you can go and use a code for. It is still Renna10, but you can use the code Renna10 over at Gemini for your comic supplies. So if you are a retailer or a seller or you sell comics, you need to mail comics, you need supplies, you need those Gemini mailers, save money. Use my code Renna10 for 10% off over at Gemini to get those mailers for your individual comics, the boxes, the CGC slab boxes. They now have Gemini mailers for slabs, which are pretty cool. Whatever you need to get your comic sales shipped, this is how you do it. Save some money on your supplies by using my code Renna10 for 10% off your entire order. Just like the BCW, you help out the channel, you get yourself a discount. What do you got to lose? So with that, we have one more segment left, and let's see what some books I think you should probably keep an eye on.
Keep an eye on it.
So with that, I got a couple books just that you should be mindful of. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. So with that, new release this week, High Ratio Incentive, 1 in 100, G.I. Joe, number 19. Yes, that is Mask. I kind of love the fact that Mask is being brought into the Energon universe, as these are more, IPs and toy lines from my youth. Love to see it happening. G.I. Joe number 19, the 1 in 100, the Thunderhawk there on the cover. Foil edition, I believe, as well. Not easy to qualify for. I mean, we're talking about issue 19 at this point, but only 3 sales, which is why it doesn't make the main list yet. But we will see how it goes. 3 sales so far, averaging $163 because I believe there was a $80 to $90 sale, and then 2 sales at the high of $200. So keep an eye on this. $200 plus. You look at what's out there now. I think I saw only 2 listing. There's 1 auction going that's already near $200, and then there's 1 listed, I think, asking like $400. So we'll see. Again, with some of these new releases and how these things have gone, I'm being less shocked by the day at some of these prices we're hitting with the Dork sales, the White Sky sales, the Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre sales. It's harder to shock me at this point, but it's not something to keep an eye on. Also, with Bleeding Hearts doing as well as it is, I was curious to see what would happen with End of Life, the next installment for Vertigo. Also, pretty solid series, pretty solid read if you're into it. It kind of has like a Bullet Train kind of vibe at the start, but he's John Wick hunted kind of thing too. Seems like a lot of fun. Character, not the most likable guy, like not the most likable fella, but still pretty funny. We'll see how it goes from here, but this particular cover is standing out from the pack. This is the Sandoval, I believe. This is the cover C option. It's already had some sales hitting $10, so something to keep an eye on in the weeks, and days ahead, because the asking price on this particular one are already $10 to $25. Even though there's only been like some $10, $7 type of sales, even those $10 sales, I believe, had free shipping. The asking price on this has gone up. So if those asks start getting met, this is the book that we might need to watch for next week. But it's not alone. This is the C cover after all. The B cover, the Sebastian Fiamora, also kind of in there, hit $850 already, which, considering it's a $5 cover, that's not too bad. It's not quite double cover yet, but it's getting there. As listings are about double cover at $10 already for the Sebastian Fiamora version. And this kind of does look like a Brad Pitt and Fight Club kind of edition. And there are a couple other cover options as well, but those ones are kind of falling a little bit behind. There's the cover A by Gerard Perel, which I think had like a $13 sale, but there's still cover price options available. So there are affordable copies still out there for all of them. So nothing to worry about yet, but something to watch, because if those get cleared out, who knows where this may be next week. There's also a foil edition of this cover, and I think there's a Jay Lee edition possibly as well. All right, but apart from those, another book to watch is the speculation that Power Girl might be showing up in the Supergirl movie, maybe as a cameo or some sort of reveal. I don't know. Rumor. It's all just rumor, but All-Star Comics presents with the Super Squad here. Issue 58 is doing well this past week, thanks to these rumors that are out there. So All-Star Comics number 58, the first appearance of Power Girl. She's right there on the cover with the Justice Society. And doing well. I mean, this sells about a dozen a week the past couple of weeks. So volume has been pretty consistent. That's why I'm saying watch it, because the volume could go up at any time. But it's about a dozen copies a week the past few weeks. High grade raw this week hit 190, while low to mid grades could be anywhere from $30 to $100. Various grade, like we're talking good, very goods, very fines. It's a mix. It's a hodgepodge of some books that are higher grades go for lower prices. It's a wild ride right now for some of these books, but that's kind of what you get with some of the older books. I mean, this isn't a new release, so not everything off the shelf is going to be a 9.8. So you got to make your call on what is comfortable in a condition that you are good with a book like this. But with that said, definitely another one to keep an eye on, along with one more to watch. And this goes to something we also know we are supposedly getting, which is a Spider-Punk series of some sort to follow up after Miles Morales. We're supposed to be getting a Spider-Punk product. So Amazing Spider-Man 10, the first appearance of Spider-Punk, is another book to keep an eye on in the weeks and months ahead, because it could spike again. We've seen spikes before. It could spike again at any time. For right now, just about a dozen sales this past week. Pretty solid, pretty consistent, averaging $30 to $50. It's kind of been where it's been, up and downs here and there, but that's where it's kind of been the last year or so. CGC 9.8 is $200, but we get formal announcement, definitive dates, things like that, prices could skyrocket once again. So something to keep an eye on and something to keep in mind as you're out there looking what may be next. Now, with that all said, I'm dropping this one a little bit early because I did stay home today. I wasn't feeling 100%, but getting better as the day is going on. So you should be able to click on over to watch the boys on The Qualified next with their interview with Garrett Gunn, writer, artist, comic creator. Find out what the boys have in store for you. Talking with Garrett. They also have other segments to cover as well as they do every week on The Qualified. And so stick around for that and come back here for SNS this weekend, The Dark Side on Sunday. And then we start the week up again with all the content we have on the channel. So hopefully you're still on board for all of it. I appreciate all the support, and I will see you all later. All right.